Mr. Busch, and this is your Busch video update blog for Friday, February 15th. It's been a good week, crazy week for currencies. We got some good trades in. We're short the euros, bought those back lower, so that's been fantastic. The week has really been set by the G20 statement, where they continue to want to have the market set rates, and Japan is basically defending their currency policies. What's extraordinary is that the Bundesbank's Wiedmann continues to support a stronger euro by saying things like, we will not cut interest rates to weaken the euro. That's been pretty amazing. Next up, obviously, has been the big drop in gold. We're down around 1,600. The news that both Moore and Soros cut their gold positions has been really driving the yellow metal down to its lows. The fact that Paulson's fund continues to hold a large amount is really pretty extraordinary. And finally, for the week, we had weak GDP numbers out for Europe and for Japan, both underscoring the fact that both central banks need to continue to do more work, and they're still not yet. Japan obviously working on it. The European Central Bank has not done enough yet, and they'll probably have to do something coming up in March. But for the time being, that's it. So looking into next week, we're starting off with the FOMC minutes on the 20th. What we have there is basically look for the verbiage on that. Remember back in January when we released the FOMC minutes for December, there was a shock to the system where we had rates go higher because there were members saying that we may not make it to 2015 for keeping rates on hold until then. So look for any of that kind of language. Bond traders, I'm sure, are very aware of this. We'll see if we get any surprises to that. Next up is the flash PMI data for Europe and U.S. That'll come out on the 21st. Again, we had weak U.S. IP and CU data out this week, coupled with Walmart's comments about the extraordinarily weak February sales. Means that these numbers could really show some weakness that would kind of put the equity markets on their back foot. Remember, everybody's been investing in the United States and in the U.S. equity markets because of the growth differentials and the potential for better things to happen here rather than the rest of the world. And finally, on that same note, we've got U.S. housing data, a whole bunch of different housing data numbers out next week. Keep an eye on that. Again, the wealth creation for the American consumer coming from a better housing data and rising housing prices really leads one to believe that that will aid them in spending, going to places like, Disneyland, like Mickey Mouse just walking by me. But really, it's going to hurt consumer spending if we see weak housing data and certainly weak housing numbers. So for the rest, looking at the currency markets out into next week, I still see some pressure on the euro. We may get a bounce from this 132.90, this 133.25, 132.90 level. 132.90 is the 50-day moving average, so I expect some support from there. But look for Sweden and New Zealand to continue to outperform. I like these currencies on crosses instead of just outright against the U.S. dollar, because they have stated, those countries' central banks have stated, and finance ministers have stated, they don't mind the strong currency. And that's for me, Andy Busch in Times Square. This is your Busch update video blog for Friday, February 15th. Have a great weekend.